Over the past 12 years, there have been 10 LEGO Marvel TV show specials, 13 if you count the fact that climactic Conundrum has 4 episodes. I've only ever seen a few of the original ones, so today I'm going to be watching every LEGO Marvel TV show and ranking them on a tier list, starting with... Maximum Overload was the first one to release back in 2013, and it was a solid start to the series. It has a simple premise with the idea that Loki wants to rule the world, and he tries to do it by throwing enchanted snowballs at villains to make them more powerful, and it gives Loki the power to control them. He starts off by trying to control Doc Ock, who gets beaten up pretty easily by Spider-Man. We then see on the news that Loki has enchanted a few more villains, but the next one that we actually see in action is Venom. Spider-Man also stops him by putting him through a rolling machine.
Oh boy.
No, I'm serious. He gets Venom rolled onto a piece of paper. And then the next villain is the Mandarin, who blows up the Malibu mansion. But Iron Man easily defeats him by simply using his flying Iron Man hand to punch the Mandarin out of his helicopter. Loki then enchants the Abomination, who fights the Hulk until the Hulk hits him into the ocean like a baseball. I swear, none of these villains are being defeated normally. But after the Abomination is defeated, we see all the villains in cells on the helicarrier. Loki then controls all of them and makes them jump simultaneously. No, I'm serious, and it actually works. It causes the helicarrier to come crashing down, and then all the villains escape and Thor comes to help, before he soon learns that Loki is the one that's behind this. So Thor then goes to Asgard and defeats Loki. And that's essentially the whole episode, and for the first one it's actually not that bad. Sure, it's a little corny at times, but it's also a little funny as well.
This is at least a code 16, maybe 17.
I'm flying!
But how can this possibly be all your fault?
It'll come to me.
And so overall, I'm gonna put this in the S tier. It's a strong start. Avengers Reassembled was released in 2015, and it's the second TV special in the series. Now, what most of these specials do is use the characters and designs from sets that came out that year. So this one is heavily based on Age of Ultron sets, and it begins with the Avengers trying to throw a party. When Iron Man's suit gets taken over by Ultron, who is trying to get information from Tony to get into the Avengers Tower. He wants to steal the Iron Legion so he can create a new world order. Most of the episode is honestly just fighting. This episode is a little bit more serious compared to the last one. The only real notable things that happen are when they take down a Hydra base, and they learn that Yellow Jacket took over Iron Man's suit and is working for Ultron. Now again, back to what I said about using characters from sets, that's why they're trying to integrate him into the story. Now with that, we also see Ant-Man, who is used to go inside of Iron Man's suit to defeat Yellow Jacket and take back control. We also get a little cameo from Iron Spider, who again was in a set that year. After that, Ultron almost gets the codes that he's looking for, but while it's loading, it gets stuck. When it finishes, Ultron gets the code of the Iron Legion, and then the Avengers do their team up pose from the first Avengers movie, and they send Ant-Man into Ultron, who breaks stuff until Ultron blows up. It's a very quick battle and didn't last as long as I thought it would, considering what the Avengers were up against. And then the episode ends with them having the party, which was just a celebration of Falcon becoming a member of the Avengers. Now honestly, this one's a little bit boring. It wasn't terrible, but the story just wasn't all that interesting to me. I'm gonna put it in the B tier. It's not a terrible watch, it's just not my favorite. The Thanos Threat was released in 2017 as a promotion and tie-in for the Guardians of the Galaxy 2. This one begins with Yondu chasing the Guardians to steal the Buildstone, which the Guardians are trying to get to the Avengers. The Buildstone is an all-powerful brick that when you press it can build anything that you imagine. They almost get away when a portal opens up and out comes Ronan, who is also searching for the brick. They juke out Ronan and use one of his portals to escape. And then when they get through to the other side, Star-Lord realizes that it's only him and Gamora left in the ship. Rocket, Drax, and Groot are no longer there. Ronan then quickly finds them and Star-Lord leaves the ship to fight him. He succeeds, but during the fight he drops the brick, and Yondu comes through the portal and successfully steals it. Star-Lord and Gamora then go through the portal separately but end up in different areas. We find Gamora on a floating rock with Thanos, who we learn is the one behind all this. He wants the stone to build a big laser and destroy planets like the Death Star does, and he wants to do it until half of all life in the universe is gone. Gamora also finds Drax, who is on the rock, and they escape when Thanos spots them. We then cut to Rocket and Groot, who are spying on Yondu and Ronan until they are spotted. But before anything can happen, Star-Lord comes through a portal and they run away with the Buildstone. However, they soon get trapped by Yondu and Ronan and they lose the brick. And before Yondu kills them, Groot earlier had touched some special grass, so Groot is now much bigger and saves them. But Thanos, who now has the brick, begins to build his big laser. But before he can finish, the Guardians show up. They all regroup in the fight and steal back the stone to make a big joystick and take over the laser. And then Thanos and his partners get shot back into the portal, and the Guardians give the stone to Thor, who brings it to Asgard. This one honestly isn't that bad. It was more entertaining than the last one, so I'm gonna put it in the A tier. Trouble in Wakanda was released in 2018 as a tie-in for both Black Panther and Avengers Infinity War. It begins with Thanos attacking Black Panther in New York. When they find the Avengers, excluding Thor and Hawkeye, together they defeat Thanos and shoot him far away. And then we later find out he ended up in the arms of Killmonger and Claw. And Thanos is very weak after the fight and needs to be recharged. So Killmonger and Claw set out to get more vibranium to recharge Thanos. And then in return, Thanos would give them Wakanda as their own to rule over however they wish. The rest of the episode is honestly very forgettable and it's not all that interesting interesting to me. After a bunch of random things like running into Doctor Strange and Shuri getting kidnapped, Black Panther finds where Killmonger and Claw are keeping Thanos, and he goes there and they begin to fight. But at this point, Thanos has already been given vibranium. So near the end of the fight, Thanos breaks out more powerful than before. And while Thanos is winning the fight, the Avengers show up along with Thor, and then they try their best against Thanos, who's honestly beating them. And so Iron Man and Black Panther decide to go into the mines and overcharge the machine. It eventually opens a portal and sucks Thanos, Claw, and Killmonger in. Thanos gets sent to a rock in space while Killmonger and Claw get sent into the middle of nowhere. This one was honestly the worst so far, but I don't think it was bad enough for C tier, so I'm gonna put it with Avengers Reassemble in the B tier. Vexed by Venom was released in 2019, and this one's gonna be very quick. It starts with Spider-Man trying to stop Green Goblin and Venom from stealing a key, but he loses and they get away. So he follows them to Green Goblin's lair, where he does stop Green Goblin, but Venom gets away with the key. We then see Venom trying to steal a second key, which is the last one he needs for the generators on the edge of New York City. Spider-Man pulls up on the spider crawler and still struggles to beat Venom, when suddenly Spider-Gwen shows up, but Venom still gets away. We then see Venom go to the generators and put both keys in, and his plan is to overload New York City and blow it up. However, before he can finish, Spider-Man gets there in a giant mech suit. Then Venom randomly finds a mech suit and covers it in the symbiote, and then they fight for a minute before Gwen gets there and helps Spider-Man cut the machine off. It does work, but a part of the machine explodes and defeats Venom. This one is probably the worst one so far. I got so bored that I watched most of it in 2x speed. It just didn't feel like a story. It felt more like a promotion, considering it was just Spider-Man fighting using all the vehicles that were in the new sets that year. It was definitely worse than the last one, so I'm gonna put this in the D tier. Climactic Conundrum was released in 2020 with 4 full-length episodes. This is the only one to ever release with more than 1 full-length episode, so I'm going to rank all 4 episodes individually and then the complete story at the end. So episode 1, titled Iron Rivalry, begins with Tony Stark and Bruce Banner at an environmental awareness conference, where they show off their own machines, and Justin Hammer is also there, and he does the floss for some reason. And while everyone is showing off their machines, there are some AIM agents trying to secretly steal Tony's machine. His machine has the power to control and change the weather at his will, so because of this he does win the trophy and AIM fails to steal the machine. But with AIM wanting the machine and knowing Justin Hammer's rivalry with Tony Stark, they ask him to join with the request that he steals the machine for them, and in return they will give him something that will help him destroy Tony. With Justin's worry of the Avengers showing up, they use armies of AIM agents to help distract the Avengers, and then Justin and Iron Man get in mechs and fight for a little while the Avengers are in little groups right now fighting off waves of AIM agents. And that's pretty much the whole episode. It isn't a bad start, it's just okay. Most of the episode is just set up for the following 3. So I'm gonna put this in the B tier, not that it's bad, it's just that it's really a setup episode. Episode 2, titled Friends and Foes, starts right where the last one left off. It's really just a bunch of fighting for the first few minutes. The real important thing is when Justin Hammer actually gets the weather machine and goes to bring it to the AIM agents. That's when he realizes that Red Skull is behind all of it, and his plan is to destroy the world with the machine and build a better world ruled by him. Justin doesn't like that idea and just wanted to destroy Tony, not the world. So he tries to run away with the machine, but the device that they gave him last episode to make his suit more powerful is now used against him. So he crashes and then loses the machine, and then Iron Man tries to steal it back, but they do the same thing to his suit, and this time it actually causes his suit and armor to blow up. So Red Skull does get away with the machine, and they have to continue fighting off more waves of AIM agents. Iron Man then calls Spider-Man to send him his spider jet, which is dumb. Why not just call his other armors or his own jets? But either way, the jet does get sent and helps in working for a minute. However, the jet soon gets shot down, and then War Machine tries to save him but fails, and right before it crashes, Justin Hammer saves Tony. Justin then explains to everyone that he didn't know he was working for Red Skull and he just wanted to destroy Tony. So they decide to team up and destroy all of Tony's weather towers around the world before Red Skull can use the machine and power them. This one was actually pretty good and was better than the first episode, so with that I'm gonna put it in the A tier. Episode 3, titled Wild Weather, begins with Captain America and War Machine going to destroy the first weather tower, but they soon get ambushed by AIM agents. Then we cut to Tony and Justin, who are going to destroy another weather tower when Red Skull finds out and turns it on, creating a winter storm. We then cut to the last Avengers, who are in the country trying to find the last weather machine. Now I'm not going to mention them again because all they do in this episode is fight. They never actually get to the machine, so it's not really important. But now going back to Captain America and War Machine, Black Panther shows up to help, and then the machine gets turned on and it creates a very powerful sandstorm. They are about to lose when Thor shows up and destroys the first weather tower for them. Now going back to Tony and Justin, they are trapped in ice, but they are able to break out successfully and destroy the machine. Sadly though, not without Justin losing his mech. This episode, even though I summed it up very quickly, was the best episode yet. I'm gonna put this in the S tier. Episode 4, titled Red Skull Rising, starts with Black Widow, Hulk, and Hawkeye still fighting the people from last episode. They win the fight but lose their car in the process, but luckily there's a family that passed by on a road trip and they decide to help. They take the Avengers to where the third and final tower was located, but for some reason it's not there. Before they can decide what to do, they see a tornado coming their way, as Red Skull is trying to destroy them with the final weather machine. They run and hide in this trench and Hulk has to hold back the camper from falling in, but I just wanted to bring this up because couldn't they just move to the left or the right of the trench and then just let the camper fall in? It's not like they're stuck in that one part of the trench. But either way, Tony and Justin arrive and they help until the storm passes over. Then they call Captain America and decide the most likely place Red Skull moved the tower to was an old Hydra base, and the base is in the ocean so the tower would be hidden. So Justin, Tony, and Steve go there and break in surprisingly easy, while the rest of the Avengers protect people in New York City from the storm. And then they basically just fight until the machine gets destroyed and Red Skull escapes. Red Skull then informs them that AIM used the machines to build a bigger and better one in space, but before he could activate it, they call Captain Marvel and she blows it up in 2 seconds. And then we never learn what happens to Red Skull, but they win by saving the planet. Now this episode was good, but I still like the previous one more, so I'm gonna put it in the A tier. And now all 4 episodes together as a complete story is probably the best thing I've watched so far. So with that, I'm gonna put this in the S tier. Loki in Training came out in 2021 and begins with the Avengers finding Loki in their secret vault. He claims that he wants to learn how to become an Avenger, and after a while of convincing, they actually decide to train him. And then Nebula arrives at the SHIELD helicarrier and traps Nick Fury to take control of the aircraft. Nick Fury calls for help and they all go aside from Thor. Thor is somewhere else as he is angry at Loki for being reckless during his training. And then when all the Avengers get there, they all get trapped and caught just like Nick Fury. And then they soon learn Nebula's plan, which was to help her father. So Thanos comes out in a huge mech suit and he wants his gauntlet, which we find out Loki stole, and he stole it so he could hide it in the Avengers vault to keep it safe. And so Loki does overhear this and he's the only one that isn't trapped, so he runs to Thor for help. After Thor agrees to help, Loki then goes to the helicarrier and turns into Nebula to get the Avengers out of the boxes. Together they all go to the Avengers Tower where Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America all get into mech suits to stop Thanos. I honestly find this kind of dumb, but I know it's just because they were in sets that year. But either way, they fight, and then they actually lose the fight with Thanos as he gets the gauntlet. But as soon as he's about to snap, it doesn't work. Loki then reveals that he stole the stones and hid them in different parts of the galaxy. And then they trap Thanos in one of those boxes, and that's it. That's the whole thing. This one honestly isn't that good. It's definitely not the worst one though, so I'm gonna put this in the C tier. Time Twisted came out in 2022 and is the last normal TV length episode, as the next 2 are 45 minutes, each making them the longest episodes. However, this one starts with Ant-Man leaving a donut shop realizing his van with the time machine is gone. We soon learn Thanos and Red Skull are the ones who stole it, with the intent to use it and go back in time to get old villains to build an army and destroy the Avengers. First they go back and get the Ironmonger. They also try to get Red Skull to go back and steal the Tesseract, but he fails and comes back with nothing. And then the last person that they go back and get is Ultron. Now this one is actually pretty cool because they go back to MCU based events, which I thought was a cool inclusion that they didn't just make up random scenarios for them to go back in time to. They actually used MCU based events. But when the villains try to start the next phase of their plan, the Avengers show up, and then they fight for a good 10 minutes until Ant-Man thinks of an idea. He shrinks the island down and then puts it into a glass bottle, successfully defeating the villains. I know I explained this episode very fast because it was a very simple premise, but this one's actually one of my favorite ones so far. I'm gonna put this in the S tier. Code Red came out in 2023 and is the first one to be over the normal 22-minute TV episode length. And it begins with Red Skull invading New York before the Avengers show up. However, he does get away, but soon after he gets taken by something unknown. And then the Red Guardian shows up and makes Black Widow upset because he still treats her like a little kid. And then she blows up on him and it's this whole thing. This episode has a lot of filler stuff. It really didn't need to be 45 minutes long. They honestly added a bunch of unnecessary stuff, so I'm gonna try to summarize this pretty fast. So before she can apologize, he gets taken away just like Red Skull. And while the Avengers are trying to figure out what's going on, they soon learn that everyone that has the word Red in their name is getting taken away. And the last one left is Red She-Hulk. So they go to her, and while they're trying to get information, they get ambushed. And this is where we learn that it's the Collector who's behind all of this. He's trying to collect all the heroes and villains with Red in their name, as he's trying to make a Red collection. It's kind of a dumb premise, but like it's not that bad, I guess. They do win the fight with the robots, but the Collector does get away with Red She-Hulk. The Avengers then track down Wolverine to help. He helps locate the Collector and his hideout, and they all go in. However, they all get split up into categories by the Collector's system. Wolverine and Hulk get put into this pit for animals and they have to fight their way out. Iron Man and Black Panther get sent into the trash for being junk, so they use the scraps to build mechs and get out. Everyone else gets trapped in boxes and are being frozen into cages for the Avengers collection. But last second, Black Widow thinks to tell the Collector that with Red Skull being in the Red collection, his Avengers collection will never be complete as Red Guardian is an Avenger. This basically stalls him until the other 4 show up and break them out. Then they fight for the next 15 minutes and they save everyone, including the villains, and then Red Guardian and Black Widow makeup and everyone leaves unharmed. However, the Collector does get away and they put all the villains in jail. And this one does have a cool message of change being okay, because the Collector wanted everything to be in mint condition and never change. So it was a cool message and it was one of the better ones. But some of the scenes just felt like filler. However, I'm still gonna put this in the A tier. Mission Demolition was released in 2024 and is the final one as of right now. This one is also 45 minutes and begins with the Avengers fighting the Frightful Four. They defeat them, but not without causing a lot of destruction. We then see the results of this from the workers' perspective. We learn of our main character Dennis, who destroys everything he touches. His main thing is that he wants to go to Avengers Con tomorrow but can't, because when he gets to work the amount that they have will cause him to have to stay late. So because of this, his coworker convinces him to use his vehicle to clean up even faster, but because he destroys everything, he crashes it and causes even more damage. And then they are both forced to stay after work and clean up. His coworker then convinces him again to use his key card to go inside storage, where inside there is this even bigger cleaning machine. He does so, and that's when we learn that his coworker is the villain. And he wanted the big cleaning machine, which when turned on, uses select letters in the name to spell out Galactus. Now he's not Galactus, but they call it that because the machine goes around New York destroying things and sucking up all the heroes. This basically happens for the rest of the episode with a few small things happening. One thing that happens is the villain grabs this axe and turns into this, and then the biggest thing is Dennis tries to save Vision, who gets sucked in anyway, but his head comes off, so Vision helps motivate Dennis for the rest of the episode. He learns that he's good at breaking things and that that's his superpower, as he's always wanted to be a superhero. So he uses his powers and destroys the machine to free the Avengers. Then they take down the villain and go to Avengers Con, where Dennis gets recognized as a new Avenger. This one's quite dumb and is honestly a little boring for a good chunk of it, so I'm gonna put this in the C tier. Now that I've watched every LEGO Marvel TV show, they honestly weren't that bad. Some were obviously better than others, but what I really took away from this is the fact that a lot of these characters appear in many of the episodes, but they are always completely different stories and they never overlap at all. So it shows how you can take things and create something new, just like how I made this video out of watching TV shows. So don't just spend your life consuming things, go out and create something, and try to make a difference with what you're making. Whether you're inspiring someone, making someone laugh, or just simply informing people of something, there's always room to create, and the biggest way to connect with people is to connect by creation.